In this video, we're going to be breaking down 3 hours of Luffy's form theories. Let's get started with the video. Gear 6. Possibility. Will Luffy transcend Gear 5? Gear 5. Luffy's declaration on the rooftop. When Luffy unlocked Gear 5 during his battle with Kaido on Onigashima, he declared something important. Standing on the rooftop, his body transformed into a cartoonish white form with flame-shaped hair. Luffy said this was his peak. He claimed that Gear 5 represented the pinnacle of what he could do with his devil fruit powers. The episode adapting this moment in the anime was even titled Luffy's Peak Attained, Gear 5. For many fans, this statement seemed final. Luffy had awakened his devil fruit. He had reached the ultimate form. There would be no Gear, the Egghead problem. But as One Piece entered its final saga, a different picture started to emerge. Luffy fought the 5 elders on Egghead Island. Despite using Gear 5, he couldn't permanently damage them. Every attack he landed simply regenerated. Saturn, Warcry, and the other elders recovered from his blows almost instantly. Luffy became so frustrated that he stopped fighting and started running instead. He told Dory and Brogy that it was useless because these enemies were immortal. This raised an uncomfortable question for fans. If Gear 5 couldn't defeat the 5 elders, how could it possibly defeat Imu, the secret ruler of the world government who sits above them? The remaining threats. The theory that Luffy might need Gear 6 started gaining serious traction in the community. Fans looked at the enemies still remaining in the story. Blackbeard, one of the 4 emperors, possesses 2 devil fruits and hasn't shown his awakening yet. Shanks, another emperor, demonstrated Haki so powerful he could send it across miles to damage opponents without even being near them. The Holy Knights appeared as a new threat, and their leader, Figurland Garling, replaced Elder Saturn. Most terrifying of all stood Imu, whose powers remain almost completely mysterious, but clearly exceed anything Luffy has faced before. What Luffy actually said about his peak. Understanding why Gear 6 theories exist requires understanding what Luffy actually said about Gear 5. When he called it his peak, he was specifically talking about his devil fruit transformation. Gear 5 represents the awakened form of the Hito no Mi, model Nika. According to Kaido's explanation during their fight, devil fruit awakening happens when the user's mind and body finally catch up with the ability. There is nothing beyond awakening in terms of devil fruit powers. In that sense, Luffy has genuinely reached his peak with his devil fruit. He cannot go higher in terms of transformations from the fruit itself. The devil fruit versus Haki distinction. But devil fruits are not the only source of power in One Piece. Haki exists as a separate system entirely. Luffy has mastered the basic and advanced forms of all 3 Haki types. He can use observation Haki to see the future, armament Haki to damage enemies internally, and Conqueror's Haki to coat his attacks with overwhelming force. However, mastering these abilities doesn't mean he has maxed them out. The difference matters because it creates room for Luffy to grow stronger without contradicting his statement that Gear 5 is his peak. Joy Boy's Haki changes everything. The clearest evidence came from Joy Boy's Haki. During the escape from Egghead Island, the ancient robot Emmet released a massive burst of Conqueror's Haki that Joy Boy had stored inside it 800 years ago. This Haki blast accomplished something Luffy's Gear 5 attacks couldn't. It forcibly knocked all 5 elders out of their demonic transformations. It cancelled Saturn's summoning ability. It even reached Imu in Mary Geoise and caused them pain. The 5 elders, who had been immortal and regenerating from everything Luffy threw at them, were suddenly vulnerable. This single moment proved that a level of Haki exists far beyond what Luffy currently possesses. Theory 1. Ultimate Haki as Gear 6. The Gear 6 theory splits into several major variations within the community. The first and most popular theory argues that Gear 6 won't exist as a Devil Fruit transformation, but Luffy will unlock something that functions like a Gear 6 through pure Haki mastery. Fans point to how Scopper Gaban, the former third strongest member of Roger's crew, recently appeared in the Elbaf arc. Gaban told Luffy to focus on how he uses his Conqueror's Haki. The implication was clear. Luffy needs to learn advanced techniques with his Haki that go beyond what he currently knows. Just as he created Gears 2 through 5 as power-ups, he might develop a form that combines Gear 5 with this ultimate Haki, creating something functionally equivalent to Gear 6, even if it isn't called that. Theory 2. The Rumble Ball Enhancement. The second major theory involves Rumble Balls. Chopper uses these special drugs to unlock transformations beyond what his Devil Fruit normally allows, including his Monster Point form. The theory suggests Luffy could use a similar substance to push his already awakened Devil Fruit even further. This idea gained support because Chopper is on Luffy's crew, making the Rumble Ball technology accessible. Some fans speculate that a modified version created specifically for Luffy could temporarily boost Gear 5 into an even more powerful state, effectively creating Gear 6 for short periods. Theory 3. Hanuman Mode and the Mother Flame. A third theory connects to mythology and symbolism. Throughout One Piece, Oda has drawn parallels between Luffy and Hanuman, the monkey god from Hindu mythology. Luffy's strongest attack is called Bajrang Gun, a direct reference to Hanuman. The theory notes that, in Hindu mythology, Hanuman tried to eat the sundae. One Piece introduced the Mother Flame, a mysterious power source that the world government desperately wants and that resembles a sundae. Some fans theorize that Luffy eating or absorbing the Mother Flame could trigger a transformation beyond Gear 5. They imagine this form would have themes of gold and red, would give Luffy an afro like his old Afro Luffy form from the Davy Back fight, and would be called Hanuman Mode. This transformation would represent Luffy finally matching the full power of the sun god Nika. Theory 4. The Eternal Flame Connection. The fourth theory takes inspiration from another mythological figure, Lucifer, the Lightbringer. The Punk Hazard arc mentioned something called the Eternal Flame. Fans noticed that Gear 5 already gives Luffy flame-shaped hair and associates him with light and joy. A Gear 6 based on the Eternal Flame concept could manifest as a flaming form that represents Luffy bringing the dawn of a new era to the world. This ties into the recurring motif of Dawn in the series, and Luffy's attacks named after Dawn, like Dawn Rocket and Dawn Whip. Theory 5. True. Nika Takeover. There's also a darker theory that Gear 5 itself has a hidden, more dangerous form that Luffy hasn't accessed yet. Dr. Vegapunk warned that awakened Zoan fruits carry a risk. The animal spirit within the fruit can potentially take over the user's mind. The jailer beasts in Impel Down lost their intelligence after awakening. Rob Lucci became more bestial after his awakening. Even Kaido showed moments of pure animal instinct overwhelming his tactical thinking. Yet Luffy seems completely in control during Gear 5. He laughs, jokes, and maintains his personality. Some fans theorize this means Luffy hasn't fully unleashed Nika's power yet. If Nika's personality ever completely took over Luffy, the result could be terrifying. Imagine Luffy's reality-warping powers, combined with an uncontrollable god consciousness and overwhelming Conqueror's Haki that knocks out everyone nearby. This True Gear 5 or Nika mode might be what the world government actually fears. The case against Gear 6. Arguments against Gear 6 are equally strong. Luffy explicitly called Gear 5 his peak while fighting the world's strongest creature. The episode title reinforced this message. From a narrative perspective, One Piece is in its final saga. Oda has stated he wants to finish the series. There isn't time for Luffy to develop an entirely new gear from scratch the way he did with previous forms. Gear 2 took years of story time before it appeared. Gear 4 required 2 years of training during the time skip. Creating Gear 6 would require similar development time that the story simply doesn't have left. Awakening as the ultimate limit. Additionally, Devil Fruit Awakening is presented as the absolute pinnacle of what a fruit can do. There is no stage beyond awakening. Luffy has awakened his fruit. In terms of Devil Fruit transformation, he has reached the end of the road. Any power-up beyond this point would have to come from a completely different source, like Haki, rather than from the fruit itself. This suggests that what fans call Gear 6 might not be a gear at all in the traditional sense. Narrative logic demands growth. The strongest argument for some kind of power-up beyond current Gear 5 comes from simple narrative logic. Luffy used Gear 5 to defeat Kaido, who was introduced as the world's strongest creature. But Kaido wasn't the final boss. The story still has Blackbeard, Shanks, the 5 Elders, and Imu ahead. If Luffy's peak form could barely handle Kaido, and if that same form proved ineffective against the Elders' immortality, then something has to change. Either Luffy will master new applications of Gear 5 combined with superior Haki, or he'll develop something entirely new. Mini-Gear 4 sets a precedent. Recent chapters have shown Luffy creating variations within his existing powers. In Chapter 11:29 during the Elbaf arc, Luffy demonstrated Mini-Gear 4. Instead of inflating his entire body like in regular Gear 4, he concentrated the muscle inflation into just his arm. This allowed him to use Gear 4's compressed power while maintaining his regular fighting style and mobility. Fans noted this as evidence that Luffy can still evolve his techniques even without creating entirely new gears. Perhaps Gear 5 will develop subforms similar to how Gear 4 has Bound Man, Tank Man, and Snake Man. The stamina issue. The energy cost of Gear 5 also factors into these theories. When Luffy first used Gear 5, it drained him so completely that he appeared to age into an old man. When it wore off, he could barely move afterward. While eating massive amounts of food restores his stamina, this drawback limits how long Luffy can maintain the form. In extended battles against opponents like the 5 Elders, this time limit becomes a critical weakness. Some fans theorize that Gear 6 might actually refer to a perfected version of Gear 5 that eliminates or reduces these stamina issues, allowing Luffy to fight at his peak for much longer. Community consensus shifts. The community consensus appears to be shifting. While hardcore fans initially insisted Gear 6 would never happen because Luffy said Gear 5 was his peak, more recent story developments have made people reconsider. The dominant view now is that Luffy won't get a traditional Gear 6 transformation, but he will achieve power-ups that effectively serve the same function. These could include mastering advanced Haki techniques that rival Joy Boy's power, developing Gear 5 subforms, or finding ways to enhance Gear 5 through external means like modified rumble balls. Each enemy demands different solutions. What makes this theory compelling is how Oda has structured the remaining threats. Blackbeard's Yami Yami no Mi can nullify devil fruits. An awakened version of that fruit might completely negate Gear 5, forcing Luffy to rely on pure Haki. Imu has demonstrated abilities that seem beyond normal devil fruits, possibly related to souls or reality manipulation. The Holy Knights appear to possess unique powers we haven't seen yet. Shanks has shown Haki mastery far beyond Luffy's current level. Each of these enemies presents a challenge that current Gear 5 cannot cleanly solve. Luffy's pattern of growth. The theory also considers that Luffy's growth has always involved learning from stronger opponents and adapting. He created Gear 2 after seeing CP9 use Soru. He developed Gear 4 after training with giant beasts on Rusukaina. His advanced Haki came from training in Udon Prison and fighting Kaido. Following this pattern, Luffy should develop something new from his experiences fighting the Elders and learning from Scopper Gaban. Whether fans call this Gear 6 or simply Evolved Gear 5 plus Mastered Haki might be semantic, but the power-up itself seems inevitable. The Five Elders' reaction. One interesting aspect rarely discussed is that the Gorosei themselves expected Luffy to be more dangerous. When Nika photographed Luffy in Gear 5 and sent the image to the world government, the Five Elders were horrified that this picture would become public. They considered Luffy's awakened form too dangerous to reveal. Yet, when they actually fought Gear 5 Luffy on Egghead, they handled him relatively well, despite not defeating him. This suggests either the Elders overestimated Gear 5, or they know something about its potential that Luffy hasn't tapped into yet. Semantics versus substance. The question ultimately comes down to semantics versus substance. Will there be a form called Gear 6? Probably not, based on Luffy's statement and the narrative structure. Will Luffy achieve a power level significantly beyond what he demonstrated when fighting Kaido? Almost certainly yes, because the story requires it. Whether this comes from perfecting Gear 5, learning ultimate Haki techniques, developing subforms, or some combination of these elements, Luffy must become stronger to face the final saga's challenges. What the theory really represents. The Gear 6 theory represents fans recognizing this narrative necessity while debating what form it will take. Some imagine a dramatic new transformation with visual changes and a new name. Others expect a more subtle evolution where Luffy simply masters what he already has. A few theorize something completely unexpected that hasn't been foreshadowed yet, but nearly everyone agrees on the fundamental premise. Gear 5 as it currently exists cannot be Luffy's final power level. The story isn't over. The threats keep escalating, and Monkey D. Luffy has never stopped growing stronger when people needed him to. Before we move on, make sure to subscribe if you're enjoying this breakdown.